world of an autistic person is in many ways a labyrinth. It's often difficult to really reach them, to know who they are on the inside. This next story is about a man named David Cohen, someone who lived with autism all of his life. He never broke free of his condition, but if you knew David Cohen, you knew his passion, music, how it moved him and how he inspired others. Here's Duncan McHugh.
3 and 4 and.
It's an elaborate work, the overture from Mozart's Don Giovanni.
See, there's no room anywhere for anything flabby or late. Yeah, that's one. Okay, here we go.
And there's a bit of flab. That is to the ear of Vancouver Symphony Orchestra conductor Bramwell Tovey. He wants it bang on for a special performance tonight. Special not only because it's an evening of Mozart, but because there's something unusual on the program. A tribute to an audience member who isn't there.
David Cohen, this is for you.
The mystery to many is, who is David Cohen?
Tell me the names of them.
Too many to list.
This is David Cohen.
Too many to list.
Turns out he's the symphony's #1 fan, but he's in the hospital.
Right.
Tell me who wrote you a letter.
Bramwell Tovey.
Who's he?
Doctor of the Vancouver Symphony wrote to me. He understands about aware of my condition.
His condition is serious. Doctors give him less than a month to live.
Now, why have you come here to the hospital?
I had a tumor in the back of my head. Was brought here by ambulance.
Still, the tumor is new. A different brain disorder has defined his life, autism. But he hasn't let that stop him from inspiring a host of musicians and friends.
You're getting a lot of visitors, aren't you?
Right.
What do you think people like the most about you? Because you have a lot of friends.
Right.
What is it they like about you?
I'm not sure what to say.
That David can't explain it makes his story all the more remarkable. Right from birth in 1944 in New York, David's autism made it tough for him to communicate or function socially. On top of that, he was hearing impaired. He was in many ways in his own world. In the late 1960s, his family moved to Vancouver, where David lived with his mother until her death in 1993. By then, David was 50 years old, sometimes childlike, with the social skills of a 5-year-old.
Are we about to roll?
We are rolling, David.
Yeah.
But sometimes extraordinarily proficient. For example, writing thousands of letters for Amnesty International.
I have addressed human rights concerns to the United States, Mexico, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, Colombia, Brazil.
His true passion, though, was classical music.
These are among the great opera companies like the Metropolitan Opera, the English National Opera.
Still, David depended on people like his friend Ken Gordon, especially after his mother died, because a man with a mind like an encyclopedia couldn't comb his own hair.
David, I believe, was really becoming increasingly isolated. He had a huge network of people that he dealt with, but none of those people knew each other. Who's around? Okay.
That network, from social workers to churchgoers to music lovers, became a tight-knit group centered on David.
David, I think you and I met at a lot of concerts, didn't we?
At the Bach Choir.
You never missed a symphony concert, a Bach choir concert.
Are you looking for your shoes? I don't know that we have time to do that.
They met regularly.
Have you noticed the door is not closing properly?
Right.
helping David with banking or meals or medical needs, all arranged by a disabled advocacy group called the Plan Institute and organized by Ken Gordon.
We found him a place to rent. He functioned very well there. David could very well have been much more of a person who was on the street and had just got lost between cracks. So, but he was fortunate. He didn't, no.
Okay, David?
Far from getting lost in the cracks, David's social calendar was chock full.
How's some help?
I have all the food I need.
People driving David to concerts or shopping for CDs.
I'll show you where my friends are.
They knew him by name at the record store.
That's new. One of your favorites.
Music was a language David could share. It removed him from the cocoon of his mind.
Have a good day, Oreo.
Why don't we all introduce ourselves? I'm Carl, and I'm the facilitator.
But David's good life, made rich by his network, grinds to a halt with the diagnosis of his tumor in November. Suddenly, David is immobile.
So, how is your condition now?
I'm taking medication a few times per day. I'm taking medication to stop the seizure. That's the good news.
What he misses most are the musicians.
So, how are things going with visitors?
Pretty good. There should be more visitors. I need more.
More visitors?
You know, the arts community
They're behind me.
are really there, David.
This is where David made all those friends in the arts community. He was a regular subscriber to the Vancouver Symphony, the chamber choir, the opera, and after every performance, he had a ritual. He'd come here, backstage, a place most people don't go, to visit with the performers. He was socially awkward, but the musicians couldn't help but marvel at his appreciation of music.
He always began by saying the same formal statement, which was, I enjoyed your concert very much indeed, I enjoyed your last concert very much indeed, and then he would tell me whatever it was that he'd heard me do, and he'd get all the details right. I guess you could say he would have street cred with his compliments. He wasn't just coming up to stargaze. That wasn't David at all. He was coming up to thank what he perceived as being the person who provided him with the musical experience.
When he was no longer backstage, another group, the chamber choir, made this video for him to watch in hospital.
And we'll all think of you whenever we look at that spot and remember all the great times seeing you.
This is for David. David's with me. We're doing our little film for David Cohen.
Hello, David. Good morning. I hope you're feeling okay.
Clearly, they missed the frumpy, odd man they'd fallen in love with.
Lorraine has another new pair of shoes, David. Wow, look at those. Side view. Wow, that's really something else. Say hi to David. Hi, David.
But the good times aren't over, not in David's mind.
Here's David!
As much as he loves music, he loves Christmas. He'd planned for it all year. In spite of his illness, he organizes a Christmas party. His network, his friends, all come. Friends like Judith Forst, mezzo-soprano for the Vancouver Opera.
You were first class in Cinderella.
Thank you. Thank you for remembering that.
I'll never forget. You were one of the great Carmens, too.
Oh, thanks. Thank you. Every performance, David has met me and talked about that performance and reminded me of every performance I've done over the years that he's been to hear and to see.
David, it's Linda Lee Thomas.
I'm glad you came.
I'm so happy that you invited me. Thank you.
Linda Lee Thomas, pianist for the Vancouver Symphony, is one of many David visited backstage.
Isn't that fabulous? A brilliant mind. Absolutely brilliant mind. You could ask him in 1972 on December the 3rd what concert was being played at the Orphanage. He could tell you.
No doubt, though, his eccentricities could be disconcerting.
You're going to see me on the 29th? I haven't forgotten.
I'm going to be Britain's Piano Concerto.
That's right.
Just the first movement, the entire first movement.
Just the first movement. David, do you remember my brother? Jason?
Yeah.
The pilot?
How much of our we're going to play?
Act one.
But, inescapably, this is David's last Christmas.
How you doing? And what sort of plans did we have for Christmas this year? seems pretty tired. That big day yesterday.
I'm really glad that we're having a chance to celebrate Christmas with David tonight. That's so I'm really happy about that. And of course, I have a lot of sadness. And just thinking about what it is I'm going to be missing as well.
Now, in here is the dining room. I'm going to show you our stereo system over here.
What's a stereo?
David moves to a hospice called May's Place.
Passing the Christmas tree.
6 beds, 24-hour care. A place where people die in comfort.
I now got one to watch about Chevy Chase's Inn. Do you know Chevy Chase's Inn? Christmas Vacation. Have you seen it?
Yeah, it's funny.
Have you seen it?
It was just on TV.
But David is festive, and it rubs off on cameraman Jim Hoffman.
What does Bing Crosby sing?
Bing Crosby sings White Christmas.
That's one of my favorites.
The First Noel.
That's one of my favorite songs.
I'll Be Home for Christmas.
I'll Be Home for Christmas. It's one of my favorite songs.
Deck the Halls.
It's one of my favorites.
Away in the Manger.
It's one of my favorite songs. Not of my favorite songs.
Days before Christmas, Carl Perrin arrives.
Hey, David. Hello.
Ho, ho, ho.
Ho, ho, ho. We got the dinner.
What are you bringing in?
Turkey dinner and all the fixings.
The Mozart thing.
Yeah, I got the Mozart too. Yeah. A bunch of turkey here.
Christmas dinner.
You want the skin on it?
What's a good one to watch the cholesterol?
Take the skin off of it.
Not the setting David planned on 10 months ago.
This is an annual tradition.
But a ritual that must not be missed. Just before New Year's, David lapses into a coma.
Hi, David, it's Bramwell from the Symphony. Bramwell from the Symphony. Can you hear my voice?
Visitors keep coming, like conductor Bramwell Tovey.
Bramwell Tovey from the VSO and Lana, my wife. We've come to see you. You've often come to see me, now I've come to see you. Can you hear me, David? We love you. We're both here, David. We're coming.
Just outside David's room, the maestro spots a piano. It's the music for Psalm 23, its famous line, "Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for thou art with me."
The piano was just there, and I wasn't sure if words were getting through, and I thought, well, maybe he can hear some music, and hey, I'm a musician above all else, and so it seemed appropriate to just to play something.
David fights a spirited battle, but it lasts only a month. On January 27th, David dies. So, that's why the Vancouver Symphony dedicated a work of anguished grandeur, Mozart's Masonic funeral music, to David Cohen.
We nicknamed him as our #1 fan. You probably would have recognized him with glasses, looking a shade unkempt, but always very enthusiastic, and not actually, because of his situation, able to take into account what perhaps the rest of us would regard as bourgeois social niceties. David passed away on Friday, Mozart's birthday, and so we would like to play the funeral music for him. David Cohen, this is for you.
David would have relished its soothing finale, and he would have gone backstage to say so. An outsider, enabled and ennobled by music. Duncan McHugh, CBC News, Vancouver.